If you're stuck in the lower end or in the middle of the 4-5 category, then you might be making this very common practice mistake, and that is that you're trying to hit the ball way too hard in practice. This is something that I see from a lot of the local players at that level. It's basically like they're just trying to knock each other off the court right from the start of the practice. So when they're rallying down the middle, they're hitting some amazing shots that are going really hard, but there's just no consistency to it. There's no depth. It's just all about hitting the ball hard, and the number of mistakes that players are making is way too high. And I think there's a couple of things going on. Firstly, players don't think about it properly. Like, they hit the great shots, it feels good when you hit the ball hard, and then they kind of mentally reward themselves for hitting such a good shot. But then they're missing, one out of every 3 or 4 balls. And in practice, it kind of doesn't matter if your practice partner doesn't care and they just kind of return the ball that's out or whatever. But when you're trying to play in matches, missing every 3rd or every 4th ball is going to cost you a lot of points. So it's really important to understand that tennis is first and foremost about consistency. Movement is always key. You've got to get to the ball first, but once you're there, it's just about being consistent and hopefully putting the ball in positions that your opponents don't like. And for most players, that means deep and often high, especially deep and high on the backhand. A lot of players at the 4-5 level really enjoy the ball that gets hit hard at them. So if you hit the ball at them with pace, especially if it's fairly low and bouncing short, that's a really nice shot to be able to receive. A much more difficult ball is a ball that's maybe got a little bit more arc on it, a little bit more topspin, is landing deep and maybe towards the backhand side. That's something that universally most players just don't like, especially at the kind of the lower 4-5 or 4-5 level. So in your practice, you need to train yourself to be more disciplined, understand what's going on, pump the brakes, hold yourself back, and just really work on grooving your consistency. And you might have to speak to your practice partner about this, because if you're like a lot of the people that I see playing, both players are doing it. They're both crunching it, both making way too many errors. So you might have to have a nice word with your practice partner and say, look, can we try and be a little bit more consistent? Maybe work on down the middle or work on cross courts or different patterns, trying to get 10 or 20 balls in a row just to train yourself to be consistent. Now, I'm not telling you to just float the ball. You do want to hit through the ball. You want to execute with good technique, but you don't want to hit it as hard as you can. When pros play, they hit the ball quite hard, but relative to how hard they can hit the ball, they're going at like 50–60% of what they're capable of most of the time. So you want to think about that within your own game. You want to be aggressive with your feet. And if I was to pull out a second most common practice problem that I see from 4.5 players, it's not working on footwork sufficiently well. But you want to be aggressive with your feet, really focus on trying to set up in an optimal position as possible and just groove your strokes, train yourself to be as consistent as possible, because that beats just about any 4.5 player and realistically is enough to allow you to get to the 5.0 level. So really simple adjustment that you can make within your practice. You just have to be very disciplined about it. Do not allow yourself to fall into that trap of just trying to crush the ball, and it's really going to help you to improve more quickly. Now, if you find that you struggle with the discipline, you understand what I'm trying to explain here, but then when you go out on court, you still can't quite make it happen, then you want to check out this video here, because it's going to show you some interesting strategies that you can use to improve your discipline and help you to improve your shot selection.